My decision to come to Valdosta State wasn't just about learning and getting my degree. I came to chase the opportunities that VSU offered and to not only make something out of myself, but to make a lasting impact on the university. A talk show is not something I had ever heard of VSU having for athletics, and I wanted to change that. This is how I did it. December of 2020, I decided to start building my LinkedIn profile, and through this process, I made a connection with Timothy Atkins, who introduced me to the social media specialist for the Los Angeles Lakers, Audrey Rodriguez. Meeting with her sparked my idea to create a talk show for VSU athletics. During our discussion, Audrey mentioned a talk show she hosted in college called Off the Court, where she would have different basketball players come on and share more about who they are as people rather than just talk about their sport. As someone aspiring to work in sports media, attempting to replicate a talk show like this on my campus sounded challenging, but so rewarding. I started by reaching out to one of my mass media professors who teaches the sports workshop classes to get his input and recommendations on the talk show.
Try to kind of find some exemplars to go off of. If I recall correctly, I think I recommended to you Ball State when we were in class, just because I know that's a really powerful sports program that has a humongous endowment, to say the least. But the reason I did that was because I wanted you to start thinking a little bit outside the box and see what else is possible beyond what we've done here.
I took Dr. Walker's advice and used his recommendations when pitching the idea to my boss, Graham, who's the video services coordinator at VSU, to get his input on building the project.
Haley brought up the idea of doing sort of an athletics-centric talk show towards the beginning of the semester, which I thought would do really well. For one, athletics needed the content. I think the interest was there because of the COVID season. Everyone knew that things would be different. They had a lot of questions. I'm sure people were wondering how the athletes were going to deal with COVID regulations, having not played for a year, getting extra year of eligibility. There's all sorts of things that made this season unique, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there to just see a side of athletics that you normally wouldn't see.
During our discussion, Graham mentioned a project the VSU Athletics page used to do called the Red Hot Minute, and how graduate assistant Tashana Whitehead was bringing it back.
So the original Red Hot Minute was something that I think we started maybe in 2017, 2018, and it came from Matt Malone. That was kind of his idea to start up, and so he would basically write scripts each week that would sum up, the outcomes of all the different games, what happened that week, what was coming up the next week, noteworthy in athletics, and we would, have a member or a couple members from our Red Hot dance team come and host that show. So we would try to include, some B-roll or photos from the past week or stuff that we could use to promote the week coming up. But it was all pretty simple production-wise.
As much as I loved what the original Red Hot Minute was, it was pretty much part of what the talk show would cover, in the sense that we would also be discussing athletic events that happened the week prior and the week coming up. I did, however, want to find a way for the Red Hots to be involved, and I thought about having them recreate an athletic event that happened.
So, I understand the original format of the Red Hot Minute, but I feel like the new way is a little more engaging for the audience. So, when you just have a person just standing there talking, it's kind of hard for them to show enthusiasm sometimes, unless they just have an outright outgoing personality. So I really think the new formatting to get the audience more excited and to add a little comedy is a little better.
With Tashana and Graham on board, I started building a PowerPoint to present to the Assistant Athletic Director of Communications, Kit Streif. I used this PowerPoint to gather my ideas in one central location and covered important topics such as the project breakdown, the rationale, concerns, and more. In this PowerPoint, I also discussed the name for the talk show, Behind the Uniform. I chose the title because I felt it best communicated my message and purpose of the project, to highlight who our athletes are beyond the sport they play. After I finished the PowerPoint, I'd send it to Graham for any corrections and got ready to present it to Kit.
I thought it was a great way to get our message out and to get us an opportunity to promote our athletes in a different light, in a different way. And I think that was something that having help from you to help us promote our athletes is a great opportunity. And I think that the whole project was great and it accomplished multiple ideas.
Once Kit approved the idea of the talk show, he recommended I include another graduate assistant, Michael Reedy, as the host of Behind the Uniform.
So I wouldn't say I was nervous or anything to begin with, because I was just like, all right, I didn't really know what it was going to be, and it's been fun ever since then, but I didn't think it would be a huge burden on my shoulders, and it hasn't been. So it wasn't, it was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do it, like throw me in with the pack of wolves, but it's been fine ever since.
Now that I had my team, I started discussing in more detail my idea, and we decided to start posting episodes every Friday in March. I recommended that we use the last week of February as a test week to get a feel for how everything would go and to have one episode done in advance. Picking an athlete to start off with seemed like a daunting task, but that weekend, VSU baseball pitcher Zach Blankenship pitched a complete game shutout and was named Pitcher of the Week, and I decided to have him on the talk show as our first athlete.
Okay, so it is February 23rd. I'm trying to set up a time for the Red Hots to be on the baseball field to film their Red Hot Minute and reenact the play of the week, but I did not realize how much their practice schedules would overlap. And so I'm just kind of going back and forth right now with the coaches, trying to figure out a time that we could possibly film this, because the baseball team has an away game today and they're leaving at 11, so they can't do anything. And then the Red Hots have practice at the same time as the baseball team on Wednesdays. And this scheduling is just a lot harder than I was expecting it to be. I am planning on emailing all of the team's coaches today or sometime tomorrow to get their weekly practice schedule. That way I don't feel like I'm overwhelming them asking like, hey, what time are you free on Wednesdays or Thursdays? That way I can just build this all in an Excel file and go in and add their game days and hopefully make scheduling next week a bit easier than it is right now. This is like our test run week. We're going to be filming this Wednesday night, but Michael has class then, so I'm going to be taking over for this test run week, and then we have the time set for 4 to 6 on Wednesdays in the future. That way Michael can be our talk show host. This is harder than I was anticipating, and I'm just hoping that I can learn from the mistakes I've made this week to hopefully get everything to run a bit smoother in the future.
Our test run week was quite the experience. I didn't think about having to edit the episode along with creating the opening title sequence, and that really threw me off because that title sequence took me most of the week. The original sequence is not what I was wanting, but it was a good building block for me because I was able to learn how to use the template we had, and I went back in to easily change the photos and videos to how I wanted everything to look. Along with that, Zach's Red Hot Minute did not get filmed that week because of scheduling conflicts, but I already had a Red Hot scheduled to film, so we recreated a penalty kick that won a game for the women's soccer team. The following week we had Paige Taylor on the show, and since her Red Hot Minute was already done, Paige's episode was uploaded first.
It is Saturday, March 6th. Yesterday, the first official episode of the talk show got published, and I am so excited. It has been so stressful these past 2 weeks trying to get everything under wraps, but I think having Zach on the show as like a test run the first week of March was like the best decision we could have done
because that really just showed me everything that you don't need to film an interview for 26 minutes in order to have good content. Because this week when we filmed with Paige, it was only like 7 minutes tops, and I still got great responses to some of the questions. And I'm just really glad that we made the decision to do that test run, because without it, I feel like everything this week would have been hectic, and we probably wouldn't have gotten the episode like finished editing and published. And I'm just so excited for it to finally be out there. I'm still a little stressed and unsure of how things are going, but I think now that we've pushed that first episode out there, I can direct people's attention to that to show them what we're trying to accomplish. And I think hopefully that they'll be a lot more willing to work with me and work with the other team schedules. So yeah, I feel really great. Posting the first episode was scary in the sense that I wanted people to enjoy it, but I also wanted to make sure the meaning behind the show was understood.
Sometimes people have perception of athletes, or that may be negative, or maybe they just think we're just our sport. Whereas like I'm a lot more than soccer. Soccer is just a small part of who I am. So I think I really like that you guys are trying to make people know about us as people.
Highlighting our athletes for who they are is the sole purpose of this project. Too often I think they're only seen for their sport, and their personality or goals in life are not considered. This talk show was a way for me to highlight that. Moving on to the next week, I was finally able to get Zach's Red Hot Minute filmed and added it to his episode to be posted. A few hours after it was uploaded, I got a message about 2 major issues with it. There was a grammatical error in the Red Hot Minute, and there was also a frame that had not been analyzed for warp stabilizer. We pulled the video as soon as I got word, but this was something that was really difficult for me. I was disappointed in myself for not checking the video more thoroughly before sending it to be posted, but it was a good learning experience for me. We were able to make the corrections and upload the video again. Up next, we filmed with Burke Putnam from the men's basketball team. Scheduling and filming with him was pretty relaxing, but the issue I ran into came when his episode was posted. At this point in the semester, I was starting to get really busy and began to run into an issue of finding time to edit the talk show and staying on top of my homework. Because of this, Burke's episode wasn't finished until Monday and was posted on that day rather than the Friday it was supposed to be uploaded. The last episode I scheduled was a hot mess. We originally had a member from the golf team coming on, but he had to cancel last minute because of senior photos getting rescheduled due to the weather. Then I reached out to volleyball about having the senior on the show, but they stopped responding to my emails, which resulted in me reaching out to Samantha Richards from the VSU softball team as a last minute resort to see if she would be willing to come on the show. Thankfully she was, and we were able to film her episode on Friday morning. Sam's episode was the first one I edited right after we filmed it, and I found this to be very useful because the interview was fresh on my mind and I knew which questions had the best responses. This allowed me to quickly go through the footage and cut out the best parts. I was able to finish editing the episode by noon on Friday and send it to Michael to be posted. This project was unlike anything I've ever done before. I learned so much from this experience, and I'm so grateful to everyone who helped me accomplish this. The talk show is something I'm so proud of, and I was able to share it with the university, which was a dream come true. To everyone who contributed to editing, hosting, being on the show, or just helping me work through the stress of this production, thank you. Thank you all for having faith in my abilities and encouraging me to turn my dream into a reality.